Chapter 6. "Hello there," the old man called out. The large, elderly black tomcat raised its head a fraction and rarely returned the greeting in a low voice. "A very nice spell of weather we're having." The cat said. "Not a cloud in the sky, for the time being. Is the weather going to take a turn for the worse then?" "It feels like it will cloud up toward evening." The black cat slowly stretched out a leg, then narrowed its eyes and gave the old man another good long look. With a big grin on his face, the man stared right back. The cat hesitated for a time, then plunged ahead and spoke. So you're able to speak?" "That's right," the old man said bashfully. To show his respect, he took off his threadbare cotton hiking hat. "Not that I can speak to every cat I meet, but if things go well, I can, like right now." "Interesting," the cat said simply. "Do you mind if I sit down here for a while? Nakata's a little tired from walking." The black cat languidly rose to its feet, whiskers at which, and yawned so tremendously its jaw looked almost unhinged. "I don't mind, or perhaps I should say, it's not up to me. You can sit anywhere you like. Nobody's going to bother you for that." "Thank you kindly," the man said, lowering himself down beside the cat. "Boy, oh boy, I've been walking since 6 this morning." I take it, then, that you're Mr. Nakata?" "That's right. Nakata's the name. And you would be?" "I forget my name," the cat said. "I had one. I know I did, but somewhere along the line I didn't need it anymore. So it slipped my mind." "I know. It's easy to forget things you don't need anymore." "Nakata's exactly the same way," the man said, scratching his head. "So what you're saying, Mr. Cat, is that you don't belong to some family somewhere?" "A long time ago I did, but not anymore. Some families in the neighborhood gave me food to eat now and then, but none of them owned me." Nakata nodded and was silent for a time, then said, "Would you mind very much, then, if I called you Atsuka?" "Atsuka?" the cat said, looking at him in surprise. "What are you talking about? Why do I have to be Atsuka?" "No special reason. The name just came to me. Nakata just picked one out of a hat. It makes things a lot easier for me if you have a name. That way, somebody like me, who isn't very bright, can organize things better. For instance, I can say, on this day of this month, I spoke with the black cat Atsuka in a vacant lot in the Two-Comb neighborhood. It helps me remember." "Interesting," the cat said. "Not that I totally follow you. Cats can get by without names. We go by smell, shape, things of this nature. As long as we know these things, there are no worries for us." Nakata understands completely. "But you know, Mr. Otsuka, people don't work that way. We need dates and names to remember all kinds of things." The cat gave a snort. "Sounds like a pain to me." "You're absolutely right. There's so much we have to remember. It is a pain. Nakata has to remember the name of the governor, bus numbers. Still, you don't mind if I call you Otsuka? Maybe it's a little unpleasant for you?" "Well, now that you mention it, I suppose it isn't all that pleasant. Not that it's particularly unpleasant, you understand. So I guess I don't really mind. You want to call me Otsuka? Be my guest. I'll admit, though, that it doesn't sound right when you call me that." Nakata is very happy to hear you say that. "Thank you so much, Mr. Otsuka." "I must say that for a human, you have an odd way of talking," Otsuka commented. "Yes, everybody tells me that. But this is the only way Nakata can speak. I try to talk normally, but this is what happens. Nakata's not very bright, you see. I wasn't always this way, but when I was little, I was in an accident, and I've been dumb ever since. Nakata can't write, or read a book, or a newspaper. Not to boast or anything, but I can't write either," the cat said, licking the pads of his right paw. "I would say my mind is average, though, so I've never found it inconvenient." "In the cat world, that's to be expected," Nakata said. "But in the human world, if you can't read or write, you're considered dumb." Nakata's father, he passed away a long time ago, was a famous professor in a university. His specialty was something called theory of fine ants. I have 2 younger brothers, and they're both very bright. One of them works at a company, and his department chief. My other brother works at a place called the Ministry of Trade and Industry. They both live in the huge houses and eat eel. Nakata is the only one who isn't bright. But you're able to talk with cats. That's correct, Nakata said. Then you're not so dumb after all. Yes. No, I mean, Nakata doesn't really know about that. But ever since I was little, people said, you're dumb, you're dumb. So I suppose I must be. I can't read the names of stations, so I can't buy a ticket and take a train. If I show my handicap pass though, they let me ride the city bus. Interesting, Otsuka said without much interest. If you can't read or write, you can't find a job. Then how do you make a living? I get a sub-city. Sub-city? The governor gives me money. I live in a little room in an apartment in Nagata called the Shoiso, and I eat 3 meals a day. Sounds like a pretty good life, to me at least. You're right, it is a pretty good life. Nakata can keep out of the wind and rain, and I have everything I need. And sometimes, like now, people ask me to help them find cats. They give me a present when I do. But I've got to keep this a secret from the governor. So don't tell anybody. They might cut down my subsidy if they find out I have some extra money coming in. It's never a lot, but thanks to it, I can eat eel every once in a while. Nakata loves eel. I like eel too, though I only had it once, a long time ago, and can't really recall what it tastes like. Eel is quite a treat. There's something different about it compared to other food. Certain foods can take the place of others, but as far as I know, nothing can take the place of eel. On the road in front of the empty lot, a young man walked by with a large Labrador retriever with a red bandana tied around its neck. It glanced over at Otsuka, but walked on by. The old man and the cat sat there in the lot, silently waiting for the dog and his master to disappear. You said you look for cats, Otsuka asked. That's correct. I search for lost cats. I can speak with cats a little, so I go all over tracking down ones that have gone missing. People hear that Nakata is good at this, so they come and ask me to look for their lost cats. These days, I spend more days than not out searching for cats. I don't like to go too far away, so I just look for them inside Nakano Ward. Otherwise, I'll be the one lost, and they'll be out looking for me. So, right now you're searching for a lost cat. Yes, that's correct. Nakata is looking for a 1-year-old tortoiseshell cat named Goma. Here's a photo of her. Nakata pulled a color copy out of his canvas shoulder bag and showed it to Otsuka. She's wearing a brown flea collar. Otsuka stretched out to gaze at the photograph, then shook his head. No, afraid I've never run across this one. I know most of the cats around here, but this one I don't know. Never seen or heard anything about her. Is that right? Have you been looking for her for a long time? Well, today is, let me see, 1, 2, 3, the 3rd day. Otsuka sat there thinking for a time. I assume you're aware of this, but cats are creatures of habit. Usually they live very ordered lives, and unless something extraordinary happens, they generally try to keep their routine. What might disrupt this is either sex or an accident, one of the two. Nakata's thinking the same thing. If it is sex, then you just have to wait till they get it out of their system and they'll come back. You do understand what I mean by sex. I haven't done it myself, but I think I understand. It has to do with your weenie, right? That's right. It's all about the weenie. Otsuka nodded, a serious look on his face. But if you're talking about an accident, you might never see her again. That's true. Also, sometimes when a cat's on the prowl for sex, it might wander off and have trouble finding its way back home again. If Nakata went out of Nakano Ward, finding my way home wouldn't be easy. That's happened to me a few times. Of course, that was a long time ago, when I was much younger, Otsuka said. Eyes narrowed as he searched his memory. Once you're lost, you panic. You're in total despair, not knowing what to do. I hate it when that happens. Sex can be a real pain that way. Of course, when you get into mood, all you can think about is what's right under your nose. That's sex, alright? So that cat, What was her name? The one that's lost? Do you mean Goma? Ah, yes, of course, Goma. I would like to do what I can do to help you find her. A young tortoiseshell cat like that, with some nice family taking care of her. Wouldn't know the first thing about making her way in the world. Wouldn't be able to fight off anybody, or fend for herself. The poor thing. Unfortunately, however, I've never seen her. I think you might want to search somewhere else. Well then, I suppose I should follow your advice and go to some other place to look. Nakata is very sorry to have interrupted your nap. I'm sure I'll stop by here again sometime. So, if you spot Goma in the meantime, please let me know. I'd like to give you something for your help. No need. I enjoy talking with you. Feel free to drop by again. On sunny days, this is where you will mostly find me. When it rains, I'm generally in that shrine over there, where the steps go down. Well, thank you very much. Nakata was very happy too, to be able to talk with you, Mr. Otsuka. I can't always speak so easily to every cat I meet. Sometimes when I try, the cat is on his guard and runs away without saying a word. When all I ever said was hello. I can well imagine. There are all sorts of cats, just like there are all sorts of people. That's exactly right. Nakata feels the same way. There are all kinds of people in the world, and all kinds of cats. Otsuka stretched and looked up at the sky. Golden sunlight filled the vacant lot, but the air held hint of rain, something Otsuka was able to sense. Didn't you say that when you were little, you had an accident, and that's why you're not so smart? Yes, that's right. That's exactly what Nakata did. I had an accident when I was 9 years old. What sort of accident? Nakata can't really remember. They don't know why, but I had a fever for about 3 weeks. I was unconscious the whole time. I was sleeping in a bed in a hospital. They told me, with an intravenous in me. And when I finally woke up, I couldn't remember a thing. I'd forgotten my father's face, my mother's face, how to read or how to add, what my house looked like inside, even my own name. My head was completely empty, like a bathtub after you pull the plug. They tell me before the accident, Nakata always got good grades, but once I collapsed and woke up, I was dumb. My mother died a long time ago, but she used to cry about this a lot, because I got stupid. My father never cried, but he was always angry. Instead of being smart though, you found yourself able to talk with cats. That's correct. Interesting. Besides that, I'm always healthy and haven't been sick once. I don't have any cavities and don't have to wear glasses. As far as I can tell you, you seem fairly intelligent. Is that so? Nakata said, inclining his head. Nakata is well past 60 now, Mr. Otsuka. Once I got past 60, I was quite used to being dumb, and people not having anything to do with me. You could survive without riding trains. Father's dead, so nobody hits me anymore. Mother's dead too, so she doesn't cry. So actually, if you say I'm pretty smart, it's a bit upsetting. You see, if I'm not dumb, then the governor won't give me subsidy anymore, and no more special bus pass. If the governor says you're not dumb after all, then Nakata doesn't know what to say. So this is fine, being dumb. What I'm trying to say is, your problem isn't that you're dumb, Otsuka said, an earnest look on his face. Really? Your problem is that your shadow is a bit, how should I put it, faint. I thought this the first time I laid eyes on you, that the shadow you cast on the ground is only half as dark as that of ordinary people. I see. I ran across another person like that once, mouths slightly ajar. Nakata stared at Otsuka. You mean you saw somebody like Nakata? Yes, I did. That's why I wasn't so surprised that you could talk to cats. When was that? A long time ago, when I was still a youngster, but I can't remember the details. The person's face or name, where and when we met? As I said before, cats don't have that sort of memory. I see. That person's shadow, too, looked like half of it had gotten separated from him. It was as faint as yours. I see. What I think is this. You should give up looking for lost cats and start searching for the other half of your shadow. Nakata tugged a few times at the bill of his hat in his hands. To tell the truth, Nakata's had that feeling before, that my shadow is weak. Other people might not notice, but I do. That's good then, the cat said. But I'm already old, and may not live much longer. Mother's already dead. Father's already dead. Whether you're smart or dumb, can read or can't, whether you got a shadow or not, once the time comes, everybody passes on. You die, and they cremate you. You turn into ashes, and they bury you at a place called Karasuyama. Karasuyama is in Setagaya ward. Once they bury you there, though, you probably can't think about anything anymore. And if you can't think, then you can't get confused. So isn't the way I am just fine? What I can do while I'm alive is never go out of Nakano ward. But when I die, I'll have to go to Karasuyama. That can't be helped. What do you think about this? Entirely up to you, of course, Otsuka said, and again began licking the pads of his paw. Though you should consider how your shadow feels about it. It might have a bit of inferiority complex as a shadow. If I were a shadow, I know I wouldn't like to be half of what I should be. I understand, Nakata said. You may well be right. Nakata's never thought about it. I'll think about it more after I get home. An excellent idea. The two of them were silent for a while. Nakata quietly stood up, carefully brushing away stray bits of grass from his trousers, and put on his threadbare hat. He adjusted it a few times until he got the angle just right. He shouldered his canvas bag and said, "Thank you very kindly. Nakata really values your opinions, Mr. Otsuka. I hope you stay happy and well. You too." After Nakata left, Otsuka lay down again in the grass and closed his eyes. There was still some time before the clouds would come and the rain would start, his mind a blank. He fell asleep for a short nap. Chapter 7. At 7:15, I eat breakfast in a restaurant next to the lobby. Toast, hot milk, ham and eggs. But this free hotel breakfast doesn't come close to filling me up. The food is all gone before I realize it, and I'm still hungry. I look around, and seconds on toast don't seem likely to materialize. I let out a big sigh. "Well, what are you gonna do?" the boy named Kraus says. He's sitting right across from me. "You're not back home anymore, or you can stuff yourself with whatever you like," he says. "I mean, you run away from home, right? Get that through your head. You're used to getting up early and eating a huge breakfast. But those days are long gone, my friend. You'll have to scrape by on what they give you. You know what they say about how the size of your stomach can adjust to the amount of food you eat? Well, you're about to see if that's really true. Your stomach's gonna get smaller, though that will take some time. Think you can handle it?" "Yeah, I can handle it," I reply. "Good," Crow tells me. "You're supposed to be the toughest 15-year-old on the planet, remember?" I give him a nod. "Well, then, how about you stop staring at your empty plate and get a move on?" Following this advice, I stand up and go to the front desk and negotiate over the price of my room. I explain I'm a student at a private high school in Tokyo and have come here to write my graduation paper, which isn't a total lie since the high school affiliated with my school has this kind of setup. I add that I'm more to research than I had imagined, so I'll have to stay at least a week in Takamatsu. But since I'm on a budget, would the discounted room rate be possible not just for 3 days, but for the whole time I'm here? I offer to pay each day in advance, and promise not to cause any trouble. I stand there in front of the girl in charge, trying to do my best imitation of a nice, well-brought-up young man who's in a tight spot. No dyed hair for me, no piercings. I have on a clean white Ralph Lauren polo shirt, chinos, and pair of brand new topsiders. My teeth are gleaming and I smell like a soap and shampoo. I know how to speak politely. When I feel like it, I'm pretty good at impressing people older than me. The girl listens silently, nodding, her lips slightly twisted up. She's petite and wearing a green uniform blazer over a white blouse. She looks a little sleepy. but goes about her morning duties briskly. She's about the same age as my sister. I understand, but I have to clear it with the manager. We should have an answer for you by noon. Her tone is businesslike, but I can tell that in her book. I pass. She notes down my name and room number. I have no idea whether this negotiating will get me anywhere, but it might blow up in my face if the manager demands to see my student ID, say, or tries to get in touch with my parents. Of course, I gave a phony home phone number when I registered, but seeing as how my funds are limited, I figure it's worth the risk. I check the yellow pages and call the public gym and ask about their weight machines. They have the most of what I need, and it only costs $5 a day. I get directions from the station, thank them and hang up. I go back to my room for my backpack, then hit the streets. I could just leave my stuff in the room or in the hotel safe, but I feel better carrying it, all with me. It's like it's part of me already, and I can't let go. On the bus from the terminal in front of the station to the gym, I can feel my face tighten up. I'm so nervous. Suppose somebody asks why a kid my age is traipsing off to the gym in the middle of the day? I don't know this town and have no idea what these people are thinking, but no one gives me a second glance. I'm starting to feel like the invisible man or something. I pay the entrance fee at the desk, no questions asked, and get a key to a locker. After exchanging into shorts and t-shirt in the locker room, I do some stretching exercises. As my muscles relax, so do I. I'm safe inside this container called me. With a little click, the outlines of this being, me, fit right inside and are locked neatly away. Just the way I like it. I'm where I belong. I start on my circuit training, with Prince blasting away on my Walkman. I put in a good hour of training, making my usual round of 7 machines. I thought for sure a gym in such a small town would be full of dated machines. But these are the latest models, with the metallic smell of brand new steel. The first round, I do the light weights, then increase my weight for the second circuit. I know exactly how much weight and how many reps work for me. Pretty soon I start to sweat and drop every once in a while to take a swig from the bottle and a bite out of a lemon I bought on the way over. Once I finish training, I take a hot shower using the soap and shampoo I brought along. I do a good job of washing my cock. Not too many years of it's foreskin, and under my arms, balls, and butt. I weigh myself and flex my muscles a bit in front of a mirror. Finally, I rinse away my sweaty shorts and t-shirts in the sink, wring them out, and stow them away in a plastic bag. I take a bus back to the station and have a steaming bowl of udon in the same diner as the day before. I take my time, gazing out the window as I eat. The station is packed with people streaming in and out, all of them dressed in their favorite clothes, bags or briefcases in hand, each one dashing off to take care of some pressing business. I stare at this ceaseless, rushing crowd and imagine a time 100 years from now. In 100 years, everybody here, me included, will have disappeared from the face of the earth and turned into ashes or dust. A weird thought, but everything in front of me starts to seem unreal, like a gust of wind could blow it all away. I spread my hands out in front of me and take a good hard look at them. What am I always so tense about? Why this desperate struggle just to survive? I shake my head, turn from the window, clear my mind of thoughts of 100 years away. I'll just think about now. About books waiting to be read in the library, machines in the gym I haven't worked out on. Thinking about anything else isn't going to get me anywhere. That's the ticket, crowd tells me. Remember, you're supposed to be the toughest 15-year-old on the planet. Like the day before, I buy a box of lunch at the station and take the train, arriving at the Komura library at 11:30. And sure enough, Oshima's there, at the counter. Today he's wearing a blue rain shirt, buttoned to the neck, white jeans and white tennis shoes. He's sitting at his desk, absorbed in some massive book, with the same yellow pencil, I guess, lying beside him. His bangs are all over his face. When I come in, he looks up, smiles, and takes my backpack from me. Still not going back to school? I see. I'm never going back, I confess. A library is a pretty good alternative, then, he says. He turns around to check the time on the clock behind him, then goes back to his reading. I head off to the reading room and back to Arabian Nights. Like always, once I settle down and start flipping pages, I can't stop. The Burton edition has all the stories I remember reading as a child, but they're longer, with more episodes and plot twists and so much more observing that it's hard to believe they're the same. They're full of obscene, violent, sexual, basically outrageous scenes. Like the genie in the bottle, they have this sort of vital, living sense of play, of freedom, that common sense can't keep bottled up. I love it and can't let go. Compared to those faceless hordes of people rushing through this train station, these crazy, preposterous stories of 1,000 years ago are, at least to me, much more real. How that's possible? I don't know. It's pretty weird. At 1 o'clock, I go out to the garden again, sit on the porch and eat my lunch. I'm about halfway done when Ashima comes over and says, I have a phone call. A phone call? I say, at a loss for words. For me? As long as your name is Kafka Tamara. I blush, get to my feet, and take the cordless phone from him. It's the girl at the front desk at the hotel, most likely checking to see if I'm really doing research at the library. She sounds relieved to find out I hadn't lied to her. I talked with the manager, she says, and he said, they've never done this before, but seeing as how you're young and there's special circumstances, he'll make an exception and let you stay at the rate of YMCA arranged for you. We're not so busy right now, he said, so we can bend the rules a bit. He also said that library is supposed to be really nice, so he hopes you'll be able to take your time and do as much research as you need to. I breathe a sigh of relief and thank her. I feel a little bad about lying, but there's not much I can do about it. I got to bend some rules myself if I want to survive. I hang up and hand the phone back to Ashima. You're the only high school student who comes here, so we figured it must be for you, he says. I told her you're here from morning till night. Your nose stuck in a book, which is true. Thanks, I tell him. Kafka Tamura? That's my name. Kinda strange. Well, that's my name, I insist. I assume you read some of Kafka's stories. I nod. The castle and the trial, the metamorphosis, plus that weird story about an execution device in the penal colony, Ashima says. I love that story. Only Kafka could have written that. That's my favorite of his short stories. No kidding? I nod. Why is that? It takes me a while to gather my thoughts. I think what Kafka does is give a purely mechanical explanation of that complex machine in the story, as sort of a substitute for explaining the situation we're in. What I mean is, I have to give it some more thought. What I mean is, that's his own device for explaining the kind of lives we lead, not by talking about our situation, but talking about the details of the machine. That makes sense, Ashima says, and lays a hand on my shoulder, the gesture natural and friendly. I imagine Franz Kafka would agree with you. He takes the cordless phone and disappears back into the building. I stay on the veranda for a while, finishing my lunch, drinking my mineral water, watching the birds in the garden. For all I know, they're the same birds from yesterday. The sky is covered with clouds, not a speck of blue in sight. Ashima most likely found my explanation of the Kafka story convincing, to some extent at least. But what I really wanted to say didn't get across. I wasn't just giving some general theory of Kafka's fiction. I was talking about something very real. Kafka's complex, mysterious execution device wasn't some metaphor or allegory. It's actually here, all around me. But I don't think anybody would get that. Not Ashima, not anybody. I go back to the reading room, where I sink down on the sofa and into the world of the Arabian Nights. Slowly, Like a movie fade out, the real world evaporates. I'm alone, inside the world of the story. My favorite feeling in the world. When at 5, I'm about to leave, Oshima's still behind the counter, reading the same book. His shirt still without a single wrinkle. Like always, a couple of strands of hair have fallen across his face. The hands of electric clock on the wall behind him soundlessly tick forward. Everything around him is silent and clean. I doubt the guy ever sweats or hiccups. He looks up and hands me my backpack. He frowns a bit, like it's too heavy for him. Do you take the train here, from town? I nod. If you're going to come every day, you should have this. He hands me a sheet of paper. The train schedule, it turns out, between Takamatsu Station and the station where I get off for the library. They usually run on time. Thanks, I say, slipping the sheet in my backpack. Kafka, I don't have any idea where you came from or what your plans are, but you can't stay in the hotel forever, right? He says, choosing his words carefully. With the fingers on his left hand, he checks the tips of his pencils. Not that it's necessary, since they're all as sharp as can be. I don't say anything. I'm not trying to butt in, believe me. I just thought I might as well ask. A boy your age, in a place you've never been before. I can't imagine it's easy going. I nod again. Are you headed someplace else after here? Or are you going to be here for a while? I haven't decided yet. But I think I'll be here for a while. No other place to go, I admit. Maybe I should tell Oshima everything. I'm pretty sure he won't put me down, give me a lecture, or try to force some common sense on me. But right now, I'm trying to keep my words to a minimum. Plus, I'm not exactly used to telling people how I feel. For the time being then, you think you can manage? Oshima asks. I give a short nod. Good luck then. Except for a few minor details, I spend the next 7 days in the same way. Except for Monday, of course, when the library is closed, and I spend the day at a big public library. The alarm clock gets me up at 6:30 every morning, and I gulp down the hotel's pseudo breakfast. If the chestnut-haired girl's behind the front desk, I give her a little wave. She always nods and repays me with a smile. I think she likes me, and I kinda like her too. Could she be my sister? The thought does cross my mind. Every morning, I do some easy stretching exercises in my room. And when the time rolls around, I go to the gym and run through the usual circuit training. Always the same amount of weight, the same number of reps. No more, no less. I take a shower and wash every inch of me. I weigh myself to make sure my weight's staying steady. Before noon, I take the train to the Komoro library, exchange a few words with Oshima, when I give him my backpack and when I pick it up. Eat lunch out on the veranda and read. When I finish the Arabian Nights, I tackle the complete works of Natsume Soseki. There's still a couple of his novels I haven't read yet. At 5, I exit the library, so most of the day I'm in the gym or the library. As long as I'm in one of those two, nobody seems to worry about me. Chances are pretty slim a kid skipping school would hang out in either two. I eat dinner at the diner in front of the station. I try to eat as many vegetables as I can and occasionally buy fruit from the stand and peel it using the knife I took from my father's desk. I buy cucumbers and celery, wash them in a sink at the hotel, and eat them with mayonnaise. Sometimes I pick up a container of milk from the minimart and have a bowl of cereal. Back in my room, I jot down what I did that day in my diary, listen to Radiohead on my Walkman, and read a little. And then it's light out at 11. Sometimes I masturbate before going to sleep. I think about the girl at the front desk, putting my thoughts about her potentially being my sister out of my head for the time being. I hardly watch any TV or read any newspapers. But on the evening of the 8th day, as had to happen sooner or later, simple centripetal life is blown to bits.